I was cleaning my parents' kitchen when I saw it. A thick white envelope, half open on the counter, like it was nothing. The logo hit me first, bold letters from a luxury cruise line. My stomach dropped. 2 months earlier, they made me cancel my vacation because money was tight. And now, I was holding proof of their trip. A fully paid cruise. Without me. I froze. My hands shook as I pulled the papers out. Names printed in black ink. My mom. My dad. My brother, his girlfriend. My sister, her husband, even their kids. A week-long cruise, scheduled to leave in 2 days. My chest tightened like a vice. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't some old brochure. It was a fresh itinerary, tickets tucked inside, glossy pages showing sunsets over turquoise water. The exact kind of trip I had always dreamed of taking. And I had given mine up because of them. 2 months earlier, I'd been over the moon. My friends had invited me on a trip we'd planned for a year. 5 days at an all-inclusive resort. My first real break in years. I'd saved every dime. Picked up extra shifts. Turned down nights out. I worked until I could barely keep my eyes open. And then my parents sat me down. "Sweetheart, we need you to cancel," my mom said softly. My dad sighed. "It's just not responsible for any of us to go on vacation right now. Money's tight. Your sister needs help with the kids. Things are rough." I had swallowed the disappointment like I always did. I canceled my trip. My friends went without me. I stayed home, babysat my nephew, and told myself it was the right thing. Now here I was, staring at the truth. They hadn't just lied. They had plotted this, planned it behind my back. A vacation without me. I shoved the papers back into the envelope just as my mom walked in, humming like nothing had happened. She grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge, gave me her usual smile, and said, "Thanks for watching him today, honey. You're a lifesaver." I nodded, my throat dry. I couldn't trust myself to speak. It wasn't the first time. When I was 6, I wanted dance lessons. Too expensive, they said. A month later, my sister got horseback riding lessons. Weekly, private, and apparently affordable. At 12, I asked for a bike. My brother got a shiny new one. I got his broken old one. "It still works," my dad said. At 15, my class planned a trip to DC. I scraped together babysitting money, skipped lunch to save. 1 week before the deposit, my mom told me it was too much. Maybe next year. The same month, my brother went skiing. My parents paid for it. By college, I'd figured out my role. I was the responsible one. The independent one. The one who didn't need help. My siblings got handouts. I got lectures. My sister's wedding? They paid for everything. My graduation? A card. Just words. And now this. A cruise I wasn't even supposed to know about. My heartbeat thundered in my ears as I forced myself to smile back at my mom. She had no idea I knew. No guilt. No shame. Just humming like she hadn't ripped me apart my entire life. But something snapped in me that day. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I didn't yell. Didn't throw the papers in her face. I simply decided I was done. The first test came sooner than I thought. 2 days later, my sister called. Her voice rushed and panicked. "Can you watch the kids this weekend? I really need the shift." Normally, I would have said yes. Always did. Rearranged my life. Dropped everything. But I remembered the cruise tickets. I remembered the years of excuses. "I can't," I said flatly. Silence. "What? But you never have plans on weekends." That stung. Because she was right. I was always available. Always last. Always the one expected to step up. "Not anymore," I said. And I hung up. The text started an hour later. "Your sister said you can't babysit. Are you okay?" "My mom." "Busy," I typed back. "Busy with what?" I didn't answer. For once, I let her sit in uncertainty. And I swear, I could almost hear the cracks forming in the perfect little system they'd built around me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't playing their game. My phone didn't stop buzzing for days. My sister sent guilt texts about the kids. My brother begged for a loan. My mom called, her voice dripping with fake concern. I ignored most of it. For the first time in my life, I had leverage, and I wasn't giving it back. But they weren't used to me saying no, so they escalated. 3 days later, I walked into my favorite diner after work. I needed coffee, just some peace and quiet. But as soon as I slid into a booth, my stomach flipped. Sitting there, waiting like it was staged, were my parents. My mom smiled too wide. My dad leaned back with that smug look I hated. "Surprise," Mom said, her voice sing-song. I froze. "What is this?" Dad folded his arms. "A family intervention." I laughed, loud and bitter. "An intervention? For me? You've got to be kidding." Mom reached for my hand across the table, but I pulled it back. "Honey, you've been distant. Avoiding calls. Not helping like you used to. It's not like you." "That's the point," I snapped. "It's not going to be like it used to anymore." Dad's jaw tightened. "Don't take that tone with your mother. She's worried sick." I leaned forward, heat rising in my chest. She wasn't worried sick when she lied to my face. She wasn't worried sick when she guilted me into canceling my trip so she could sip cocktails on a cruise. Funny how her concern only shows up when she needs something. The words landed like a slap. My mom's face drained of color. "You found out?" she whispered. I slammed my hand on the table. Heads turned from other booths. "Of course I found out. You left the tickets sitting on the counter like trophies. Do you know what it felt like holding that paper? After everything I've done for you? After years of being your backup plan?" My mom stammered. "It wasn't." It was exactly what it looked like. I cut her off, my voice sharper than I'd ever let it be. "You all went on vacation without me. Again. And you lied. Again." The diner had gone quiet. A couple of waitresses stood frozen, coffee pots in hand. Dad leaned closer, his voice low but venomous. "Keep your voice down. Don't make a scene." "Oh, I'm making a scene," I said, standing. My pulse hammered, anger flooding every word. Because for once, everyone needs to hear what it's like being in this family. My sister gets free childcare, my brother gets bailed out of every mess, and you too? You get to play the perfect parents while I'm treated like the help. But when I need you, suddenly the money's gone. Suddenly the support vanishes. A man at the counter muttered, "Damn," under his breath. My dad's face burned red. "Sit down. We're not doing this here." I laughed, bitter and shaking. "No, you're right. We're not. We're not doing this anywhere. Because I'm done." I dropped a 20 on the table for the untouched coffee and walked out, my chest heaving. The silence that followed was heavy. For once, I hadn't swallowed my anger. I had spat it out, sharp and public, and it felt like fire in my veins. But the fallout came fast. That night, my brother showed up at my apartment, pounding on the door. When I finally opened it, he shoved his phone in my face. Screenshots of group texts. My parents crying to the family chat about how I'd humiliated them in public. My sister calling me selfish. "You just couldn't keep your mouth shut, huh?" He snapped. I stepped into the doorway, blocking him from coming in. "I don't owe them silence anymore. Or you." He sneered. "You think you're better than us now? Because you can pay your own bills?" I laughed, a hard, ugly sound. "Better? No, just smarter. I learned the game, and I'm done being your safety net." He cursed under his breath and stormed off, but I knew he'd be back. They all would. Because without me, their perfect little system was collapsing. The next morning proved it. I walked into work, coffee in hand, and my boss waved me over. "Your mom called the office. Twice. Sounded urgent." Heat flared in my chest again. She had crossed the last line. My work wasn't sacred to her. Nothing was. I called her back from the break room, my voice cold. "Why are you calling my job?" "Jess," she started, her voice trembling now. "We're in trouble. The mortgage, we're behind. Your sister needed help, and your brother." I cut her off. "Not my problem. You made your choices." Her breath hitched. "We could lose the house." For a second, I almost felt it. The old pull, the guilt, the duty. But then I pictured the cruise tickets, the lies, the smirk on my dad's face in the diner, and the sympathy died on my tongue. "You should have thought about that before you left me out," I said. "Good luck." And I hung up. For the first time, the roles were reversed. They needed me, and I was the one walking away. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. They were desperate now, and desperate people don't give up easily. I thought I was done. I thought walking away would be the end of it. But the universe had other plans. 2 weeks after the diner scene, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. "Jess." A shaky voice. "My Aunt Marlene." I frowned. I hadn't spoken to her in months. "Yeah." She hesitated. "I probably shouldn't be saying this, but do you know why your parents didn't want you on that cruise?" My skin prickled. "Because they're selfish liars?" "No," she said softly. "Because they were hiding something." My grip on the phone tightened. "What are you talking about?" She sighed. "Your mom told me they planned it without you because they didn't want you to find out about your dad." Cold ran through me. "Find out what?" Marlene's voice dropped. "He's been seeing someone. Another woman. She was on the cruise." The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. My dad. The man who preached responsibility, who called me ungrateful, who guilted me out of vacations. He'd been sneaking around, and my mom knew? "Are you saying mom went on a trip with him, and her?" I choked. "Yes. They made it look like a family cruise, but she was there too. They didn't want you catching on. They thought you'd make a scene." My knees buckled. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall. My whole body buzzed with rage. "So you're telling me I canceled my trip, my one break, because mom didn't want me to blow up her little facade while dad played happy husband with his mistress on a luxury boat?" Marlene whispered, "I'm sorry, honey. I thought you deserved the truth." When I hung up, My hands were shaking so badly, I nearly dropped the phone. Everything made sense now. Why they lied. Why they planned it at a time I couldn't go. Why my mom looked guilty in my kitchen when she almost slipped up. They hadn't just excluded me. They had used me as cover. Babysitter. Distraction. The disposable child who wouldn't ask questions. The anger that rose in me was different this time. Not sharp like glass. Heavy. Like fire pressing against my ribs. I paced my apartment, clenching my fists, replaying every moment of my childhood where they'd told me we can't afford it, while giving my siblings everything. And now, all along, they had been covering for Dad's dirty secret. I wanted to call. I wanted to scream until their walls shook. But instead, I did something worse. I started digging. It wasn't hard. My dad wasn't as careful as he thought. A quick search through his Facebook-tagged photos, buried under vacation albums. There she was. A woman maybe 10 years younger than him. Blonde. Smiling at some cocktail party, his arm around her waist like he had nothing to hide. I scrolled further. Cruise photos. She was there. Every sunset, every dinner table, every smiling group shot. Sometimes she stood at the edge, like she wasn't supposed to be in the frame. But once you saw her, you couldn't unsee her. And my mom. She was in the same photos. Grinning. Holding a drink. Standing inches away from the woman her husband was sleeping with. My stomach churned. She had known. She had accepted it. And she'd gone out of her way to keep me away so I wouldn't ruin the performance. I slammed my laptop shut, my chest heaving. They thought they could play me forever. The obedient daughter. The one who swallowed her anger. The one who stayed quiet. Not anymore. I waited. Planned. I wasn't going to scream at them in a private phone call they could twist into another overreaction. No, I wanted the truth to burn. The chance came faster than I expected. My sister invited me to a family dinner the following weekend. She claimed it was a chance to talk things out. I almost said no, but then I thought of the photos, of the lie they had all built together. I said yes. When I showed up, the house was already full. My parents, my brother, my sister, her husband, the kids. Everyone smiling too wide, voices too bright, like they could pretend nothing had happened. My mom hugged me. Honey, we're so glad you came. I forced a smile. Me too. Dinner started normal. Too normal. My dad talked about work. My sister complained about childcare. My brother bragged about some deal he was chasing. I waited until dessert. I pulled out my phone, placed it on the table, and opened the photo album. The cruise pictures glowed on the screen. My dad, my mom, and the blonde woman. I slid the phone to the center of the table. Recognize her? I asked. The air snapped. My dad's face turned stone white. My mom's fork clattered onto her plate. My sister blinked. Who was that? I leaned back, my voice steady but laced with venom. That's the reason I wasn't invited. That's the secret you all tried to hide. Dad's girlfriend. Gasps around the table. My brother swore under his breath. My mom reached for the phone, but I snatched it back. No more lies, I spat. You let me cancel my trip. You let me think it was about money. And the truth? You just didn't want me to expose this circus. My dad opened his mouth, but no sound came out. The silence was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. And for the first time, I wasn't the one on trial. They were. The silence at the dinner table stretched like a rubber band ready to snap. My dad's jaw clenched, my mom stared at her plate, and my siblings shifted like they wanted to vanish. Finally, my dad spoke. Jess, this isn't what it looks like. I laughed, sharp and humorless. Oh, please. She's in every picture. I didn't Photoshop your arm around her waist, Dad. My mom's lip trembled. She whispered, we didn't want you to get hurt. Too late, I shot back. And then, out of nowhere, my sister slammed her fork down. Enough. Everyone turned to her. She was shaking, her face red. Jess, you think you're so righteous, exposing him like this, but you don't even know the half of it. My stomach tightened. What's that supposed to mean? Her eyes darted to my dad, then back at me. You weren't invited because I asked them not to invite you. My pulse stopped. What? She lifted her chin, defiant. I begged Mom and Dad to keep you away from the cruise. Because the other woman? She's not just Dad's girlfriend. She's my boss. The words detonated across the table. My brother choked on his drink. My mom gasped. My dad closed his eyes like he wished the floor would swallow him. I blinked. Your boss. Yes, she snapped. I work for her law firm. And if you showed up and started screaming? If you blew it up in public? I would have lost my job. Do you understand? My career would have been over. The room tilted. My sister. My own sister had conspired with them, had chosen her job security over telling me the truth. So let me get this straight. I hissed. You all lied. You all let me cancel my vacation, miss out, swallow my disappointment, because God forbid I ruin your career by accidentally outing Dad's affair to your boss. She didn't flinch. Yes, Because you always make everything about you. You're selfish, Jess. You don't think about consequences. That was it. My chair screeched back as I stood, shaking with rage. Selfish. You've been bleeding me dry for years. Free babysitting, covering your shifts, sacrificing my life for you. And now I'm selfish because I didn't agree to be the scapegoat in your little cover-up? My brother finally spoke, smirking. Honestly, Jess, it makes sense. You've always been dramatic. This is exactly why no one wanted you there. I turned on him. And you? How much did they pay you to keep your mouth shut? He shrugged. Didn't have to pay me. I knew better than to mess with Dad. That hit harder than I expected. They weren't even ashamed. They had normalized betrayal like it was family tradition. I looked at my mom. And you? Did you know? Did you sit across from her at dinner, smiling like nothing was wrong, while your husband flirted with your daughter's boss? Her face crumbled. I didn't know what else to do. You could have told me. I spat. But no, you all decided I was the problem. Again. The air was thick with tension, every face turned against me. For a second, I thought I might break. But then something inside me hardened. You know what? I said slowly, my voice cutting through the room like glass. I'm done protecting you. If you think I'm selfish now, wait until the whole world knows. My dad's head snapped up. Don't you dare. I leaned across the table, my words deliberate. Try me. The panic in his eyes was delicious. My sister's face drained of color. My brother swore under his breath. They had built this fragile house of lies. And I had just lit the match. The twist? I wasn't bluffing. Because I'd already sent the photos. To my sister's firm. To my dad's company. To a handful of family friends who worshipped them like saints. And my phone buzzed with the first reply before dessert was even cleared. A text from an unknown number. We need to talk. I think I'm the woman in those pictures. But there's something you don't know. My blood ran cold. There was more. More than the affair. More than the lies. And suddenly, I realized the story wasn't just about being excluded from a cruise. It was about uncovering how deep their betrayal really went. And the next layer was about to explode. The text glowed on my phone. We need to talk. I think I'm the woman in those pictures. But there's something you don't know. I stared at it, heart pounding. My dad's mistress reaching out to me? It felt surreal. But curiosity burned hotter than fear. I typed back. What do you mean? 3 dots appeared. Then a reply. Meet me tomorrow. Coffee shop on Main, 11 a.m. I'll explain everything. For a second, I thought about ignoring her. But something told me this wasn't just about the affair. There was more. And I had to know. The next morning, I walked into the cafe, nerves buzzing like electricity. She was already there. The blonde from the photos. In real life, she looked older, tired, like secrets had carved lines into her face. Jess? She asked softly. I nodded, sliding into the chair across from her. So, you're the one wrecking my family? She flinched. I didn't want to. I didn't even know how deep it would go until I found out the truth. My stomach twisted. Which is? She leaned closer, lowering her voice. Your father didn't just lie to your mom. He lied to me, too. He told me he was divorced. He said you and your siblings hated him, that you wanted nothing to do with him. He painted himself as the victim. I clenched my fists. Of course he did. But then she hesitated, her eyes flicking to the table before locking on mine. There's something else. Something you need to hear. I wouldn't be telling you this if it didn't matter. I braced myself. Jess, your father, and I have a son. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. A what? Her voice cracked. He's 6. His name is Tyler. And he thinks your dad is just his friend. I raised him alone, because your father said he couldn't afford to help. But then I saw the cruise, the vacations, the money he spent on your siblings, and I realized he'd been lying to all of us. My mouth went dry. My dad had a secret child. My half-brother. I shook my head, trying to process it. So while I was babysitting my sister's kids, canceling vacations, holding everything together, my dad was off playing happy family somewhere else. Her eyes filled with tears. Yes, and I think your mom knows. She pretends she doesn't, but she knew on that cruise. She smiled at me like she could swallow the truth forever. But you. He never wanted you there because he knew you'd see it instantly. You'd blow it all up. I sat back, my whole body trembling. Everything made sense now. Why they excluded me. Why they lied. Why my sister fought so hard to keep me away. It wasn't just about her job. It was about covering a child-sized secret. I left the cafe in a daze. My chest burned, anger and betrayal crashing in waves. That night, I couldn't keep it in. I sent a single group text to my entire family. Did you know about Tyler? The explosion was immediate. My brother, what the hell are you talking about? My sister, Jess stopped stirring drama. My mom, call me. Now. And then, finally, my dad. We'll talk about this in private. I replied, no, we'll talk about it here. Everyone deserves to know. Silence. Then my mom again. Please. Don't do this to us. The irony made me laugh out loud. Don't do this to us. As if I was the one who'd betrayed them. As if I had a hidden 6-year-old running around while demanding my daughter cancel vacations to babysit. I typed one last message. You did this to yourselves. Then I dropped my phone and sat in the quiet, my heart racing. For once, the power was mine. I held the truth, and I wasn't letting it go. But I also knew one thing with chilling certainty. Once this secret was fully exposed, my family would never recover. The only question left was I ready to watch it burn? The group text had detonated the first bomb, but the real explosion was still waiting. 2 nights later, my sister called. Not a text, a call. Her voice was shrill, panicked. Jess, what have you done? Mom hasn't stopped crying. Dad's losing it. You've ruined everything. I almost laughed. I ruined everything? No, I just told the truth. Dad ruined everything the second he decided to live a double life. She started to argue, but I hung up. My phone buzzed all night with their calls, their pleas, their fury. I ignored everyone. And then came the family meeting. They demanded it. We need to settle this face to face. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Not because I wanted reconciliation, but because I wanted them to hear the truth with no escape route. We met at my parents' house, the same dining room where I'd once celebrated birthdays and holidays. The air was suffocating, heavy with tension. My mom sat stiffly, her eyes red. My dad glared at me like I was the enemy. My siblings whispered to each other, shooting me daggers. Finally, I dropped the bomb. Dad, tell them about Tyler. The silence cracked open like thunder. My mom gasped. My brother's jaw fell open. My sister shook her head violently. Jess, stop lying. I pulled out my phone, opened the photo the mistress had sent me, my dad holding a little boy's hand, both smiling at the camera. The resemblance was undeniable. Same eyes. Same crooked grin. I slammed the phone on the table. Explain that. The room erupted. My brother swore, standing up and pacing. My sister screamed. How could you keep this from us? My mom sobbed, covering her face with her hands. And my dad? He just sat there, silent, jaw clenched, caught like a rat in a trap. Finally, my mom screamed through her tears. How long? Dad's voice was low, flat. 7 years. 7 years. My sister's face crumpled. My brother muttered, unbelievable. And me? I felt a strange calm. Like the storm I'd been carrying for decades had finally broken. You made me the villain, I said, my voice steady but shaking with fury. Every time I asked for fairness, for a scrap of what my siblings got, you called me dramatic. Every time I wanted something for myself, you said we couldn't afford it. Meanwhile, you were funneling money, time, attention into another life. Another child. No one spoke. You didn't exclude me from the cruise because I'm selfish, I continued. You excluded me because I was the only one who would have seen through your act. And now everyone sees it. My dad slammed his fist on the table. Enough. You think you've won? You've destroyed this family. I stood, meeting his rage head on. No, you destroyed this family. I just stopped covering it up. The chaos that followed was unforgettable. My mom stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. My sister broke down, sobbing that her boss would fire her when this got out. My brother screamed at my dad, demanding to know how many times he'd been bailed out with money that should have gone to his actual children. And me? I picked up my phone, calmly typed a few lines, and hit send. A social media post. The photos. The story. The truth. It spread like wildfire. Within hours, neighbors, co-workers, extended family were texting, calling, gossiping. My dad's carefully built image shattered in real time. His company called a meeting. My sister's boss sent a terse email. My mom locked herself in her room. By midnight, my family wasn't a family anymore. They were rubble. And I felt free. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the responsible one, the scapegoat, the invisible child who swallowed her pain. I was the one holding the matches. I had burned down the house of lies they forced me to live in. Standing outside that night, cool air on my face, I let myself breathe. They wanted me small, silent, useful. Instead, I had made myself undeniable. Maybe I had lost a family, but in truth, I had never really had one. Now, I finally had something better. Myself. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. So tell me, if you found out your dad had a secret child and your entire family lied to protect him, would you expose it all like I did, or keep the secret buried? What would you have done? That's the end of today's story. Did things turn out the way you thought, or were there some surprises along the way? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you haven't joined the community yet, now's the perfect time. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you're always the first to catch new stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.